What if I told you the ocean is salty, not because of the ocean itself, but because of rain? Think about it. Rain is fresh, rivers are fresh, and every drop of water flowing into the ocean is fresh. So why does the ocean taste like salt? Now here's where it gets interesting. Water is constantly leaving the ocean, rising into the sky, and coming back again as rain. It's a perfect cycle. But if that's true, why hasn't all the salt disappeared by now? The answer goes much deeper than you think, literally miles beneath the ocean floor, to a discovery scientists didn't even know existed until 1977. And once you understand it, you'll never look at the ocean the same way again. The ocean contains about 97% of all water on Earth, and its average salinity is around 3.5% by weight. That means every liter of seawater holds roughly 35 grams of dissolved salts. It sounds small at first, but the scale completely changes the picture. If all that salt were removed from the ocean and spread evenly across every piece of land on Earth, every continent, mountain, and desert, it would form a solid layer about 166 meters thick. That's roughly the height of a 40-story building covering the entire planet. And most of that material would be sodium chloride, the same salt found in a kitchen shaker. In fact, sodium and chloride together make up about 85% of all dissolved substances in seawater. So the real question is, how did it all get there? It starts on land, with rain. Rainwater is naturally slightly acidic, not because of pollution, but because water vapor in the atmosphere absorbs carbon dioxide and forms weak carbonic acid. When this rain falls on rocks and soil, it slowly breaks them down, pulling out minerals like sodium, calcium, magnesium, and potassium. These dissolved minerals are carried into streams, streams feed rivers, and rivers transport them toward the ocean. This process has been running continuously for billions of years. Here's the key detail: rivers do carry salt, but in extremely low concentrations, around 0.01%, so the water still tastes fresh. The salt is present, just heavily diluted. Once this water reaches the ocean, it eventually evaporates back into the atmosphere. But evaporation only removes pure water molecules. Everything dissolved in it, ions and minerals, stays behind. So water keeps cycling, but salt does not leave with it. Over time, this creates a slow one-way buildup. Salt enters the ocean continuously, but does not fully exit. That is the basic reason the ocean is salty. But that leads to a deeper question. If rivers have been delivering dissolved minerals for billions of years, why isn't the ocean getting saltier today? Hydrothermal vents, which we'll get into later, also add more minerals to the ocean. That raises a bigger question: if salt is constantly being added from different sources, why isn't the ocean getting saltier today? And how has its salinity stayed stable for hundreds of millions of years? The key reason is that the ocean is not a closed container. Salt is also continuously removed through natural processes. When waves break, they create sea spray that sends tiny droplets of seawater into the air. These droplets carry salt particles, which travel inland and eventually return to land through rain and wind, slowly taking salt out of the ocean system. Some dissolved minerals also undergo chemical reactions in seawater and form solid particles. These particles sink to the ocean floor and become part of long-term sediments, effectively locking them away. Scientists explain this balance using a concept called residence time, the average time an element stays in the ocean before being removed. Sodium has a residence time of about 260 million years, meaning it stays in the ocean for extremely long periods. Chloride remains even longer, which is why these two elements dominate seawater chemistry. It's not because they enter the ocean the most, but because they leave the slowest. Other elements behave very differently. Iron, for example, has a residence time of only about 200 years. It is quickly removed through chemical reactions and particle formation, so it doesn't build up in seawater. So the ocean's chemistry is a long-term balance between what comes in and what goes out. But rivers and rain are only part of the system. There is another major source that scientists didn't even know about until 1977. During a deep-sea expedition near the Galapagos Islands, researchers discovered unusual activity along the mid-ocean ridges, huge underwater mountain chains where tectonic plates are slowly moving apart. Through cracks in the seafloor, seawater seeps deep into the earth and comes into contact with extremely hot rock beneath the surface. At temperatures above 400 degrees Celsius, intense chemical reactions strip minerals and metals from the surrounding rock. That superheated water then rises back to the ocean floor through openings called hydrothermal vents. Some of these vents release dark, mineral-rich plumes into the water, which scientists call the black smokers. Before 1977, scientists had no idea this deep-sea system even existed. Its discovery completely reshaped how we understand ocean chemistry and the origin of ocean salinity. On a global scale, the impact is massive. It's estimated that the entire volume of ocean water cycles through hydrothermal vent systems roughly once every 10 million years. Over geological time, that means an enormous amount of dissolved material has been added and altered within the ocean. But here's where it gets more complex. Hydrothermal vents don't only add minerals, they also remove them. As seawater circulates through hot rock beneath the seafloor, certain dissolved ions react chemically and get stripped out of the water entirely. So this system acts both as a source and a filter, adding some elements while removing others at the same time. In other words, it behaves like a long-term chemical regulator for the entire ocean. And that's still not the full picture. There is a third major source of ocean chemistry that operates independently of both rivers and hydrothermal vents: underwater volcanism. With an estimated million volcanoes on the ocean floor, many still active, eruptions continuously release gases and minerals directly into seawater. One of the most important outputs is chloride, one of the two main components of sodium chloride. This means volcanic activity, both underwater and on land, has been contributing chloride to the ocean throughout Earth's entire history. So now you have three global systems working at the same time. Rivers carrying dissolved minerals from land. Hydrothermal vents cycling seawater through deep, hot rock. And underwater volcanoes releasing fresh chemical inputs from Earth's interior. All of them have been operating for billions of years. To understand what happens when this balance is broken, look at places like the Dead Sea. Located between Jordan and Israel, the Dead Sea receives water from the Jordan River, but has no outlet. The only way water leaves is through evaporation, and evaporation leaves all dissolved minerals behind. The result is extreme salinity, around 34%, nearly 10 times higher than the open ocean. The water is so dense that the human body floats with almost no effort. The same process is seen in Utah's Great Salt Lake and in Lake Assal in Djibouti, where salinity can reach up to 40%. These are not rare geological accidents, they are extreme versions of the same natural process, just without a proper balance system in place. They are simply faster versions of the same natural process we see in the ocean, but trapped in closed systems with no real chemical reset. Most freshwater lakes don't become extremely salty because they have outlets. Water flows in, but it also flows out, carrying dissolved minerals away before they can build up. For example, the Great Lakes drain through the St. Lawrence River into the Atlantic Ocean, constantly refreshing their chemistry. The ocean doesn't have that kind of outlet. Water can only leave through evaporation, and evaporation removes pure water while leaving salts behind. Now here's the part most explanations skip. Ocean salinity isn't just a chemical detail, it plays a major role in regulating Earth's climate. Salt makes seawater denser than freshwater. That density difference drives a global system of deep ocean currents known as thermohaline circulation. These currents move heat across the planet on a massive scale. Without them, regions like Western Europe would be significantly colder than they are today. In other words, Earth's climate system is partly powered by the fact that the ocean is salty. Salt also lowers the freezing point of seawater to about -1.8 degrees Celsius. This keeps large parts of the polar oceans from freezing solid, even in extreme cold. That helps support polar ecosystems and influences how heat is distributed across the planet. And the implications may go even further. NASA scientists studying Europa, one of Jupiter's moons, have found strong evidence of a liquid ocean beneath its icy surface. Many researchers believe it could also be salty, potentially driven by similar hydrothermal processes found on Earth's ocean floor. If that's true, it suggests that salty oceans may not be unique to Earth, but a natural outcome wherever liquid water interacts with rocky planets. So the full picture comes together like this. The ocean is salty because rain slowly dissolves minerals from rocks and carries them into the sea over billions of years. It is salty because hydrothermal vents cycle seawater through hot rock, adding and reshaping its chemistry. It is salty because underwater volcanoes continuously release dissolved elements like chloride. And it stays salty because evaporation removes only water, not the dissolved materials. In the end, the ocean has no real drain. And that single fact shapes everything from its chemistry to Earth's climate system.